What's going on, everybody? This is going to be our Q&A for the Becoming an Apex Trader DBT Method Indicators video. Appreciate you guys all stopping by. Good afternoon, Marcel, Max, Greg, Sam, Tachi, Azul. A lot of block trades going off on Addis after the bell here. Let me go ahead and close that. Had some crazy delta coming in today into the close. It closed nearly, what, 35,000 positive. Kind of insane. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about the indicators, obviously, ways you can use them in your trading, give you guys a few tips here and there with the Momo, the OTS, the EMAs. I didn't talk a lot about the multi-time frame use in the video, kind of like the waterfall method, using them basically on multiple time frames at once, like I usually have 4 time frames. On more of a scalping sense, I typically like the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15 minute, possibly the 30 minute. On more of a daily sense, or like a longer time frame, maybe a swing trading aspect, you could obviously do higher time frames. So like daily, weekly, monthly, that sort of thing. But yeah, we're going to get into that. And then obviously I'll take questions from you guys. Do you guys have any questions about that video? Hey, Sam. So the first question is, he was asking about, are there any public versions of the indicators that I was talking about on the videos? So the indicators that I was talking about, the DBT Momo and the Oasis Trading Suite, those are my proprietary indicators that I made. So those are obviously paid indicators that you can get from our website, or you can get them from being a Discord member. But we also have an Apex partnership where if you use our Apex code, code BREW, by the way, BREW, I think it's 80% off right now. If you use that code, you can send me an email and let me know, hey, I used your code, here's my most recent receipt, and I can get you added to these indicators for 60 days. So give you guys a little bit of a trial to help you guys get funded with your Apex accounts. The other indicators that I talked about were mostly just like moving averages and VWAP. Those are all readily available on pretty much every single trading platform. The EMAs that I like to use are the 8 EMA for the teal one, that's like the fast aggressive average, and the 24 EMA, which is more of the slower responsive average. But yes, for my personal indicators, the ones that I have created, they are on our website. You get them from being a Discord member, or you get them through using our code on Apex. Okay, let's get started with a little bit of a demonstration on what I talk about when I am referring to like the waterfall technique. and using like multiple time frames in your analysis with these indicators. So normally I would use, like if I was a scalper, I would use a 1 minute. You could use like a 3 or a 5 minute as well. So you could look at like a 3 minute, you could look at a 5 minute, and you could look at a 15 or a 30. If you want to go a little bit higher, you could use a 5 minute, a 15 minute, and then like a 30 minute. So it really doesn't matter what the time frames are exactly. You just want them to be spread out a little bit so you can kind of see how the patterns or the signals on the indicators are developing throughout those time frames. So for example, like if we were getting, say, let me see if I can find one here. If we were getting like a purple shading on the 1 minute, what time was that? That was around like 1:22. I don't think we got one on the 5 minute here. So normally you would look for, okay, we're bottoming out on momentum on the 1 minute. How does the Momo look on the 5 minute? So around like 1:30 here, 1:25 to 1:30, you have that kind of bottom warning on the 1 minute. So around that same time, let's go look at it on the 5 minute here. We can see a little bit of a trap signal on the 5 minute. If you guys watched my video, obviously we talked about these traps where you have that finding a top, you're looking for higher value on the trend line, and then on the histogram, you have that cupping pattern. So you have a little bit of a trap there. So bottom warning on the 1 minute, and then you have a trap on the 5 minutes. So that is confirming that that is possibly a bottom. And then let's go to a 15 minute. What are they showing on the 15 minute? So that would be right around here on the 15 minute. We are pulling back into that trail, and our momentum is still pretty much topped out to the buy side. So they're not really showing any massive signs that this wants to become a very bearish move. So once again, 15 minute kind of confirming that that is okay to be a buyer down there. And then if I go to a 30 minute, let's take a look at what the 30 minute said. That would be around, let me see here. What was that bottom again? It was around 120. So that'd be kind of in this general area right here. So on the 30 minute, we were holding on to the ADMA as support, and we had very strong buy momentum on the Momo. So pretty much every time frame was showing you that the buyers were okay to form a bottom there. There was a lot of support, and you were not seeing a signal to keep going down. The one signal that you were getting that was possibly a sell signal turned into a trap, which is good for the buyers. The bears are being trapped, right? So that's just one example of how I would look at this on like a multi-time frame, right? Let's go to a different time frame here. Let's take a look at, say, around the open. So we can go bottom down as well. So we don't always have to go from the bottom up. We could also go, top down, not bottom down. We could go top down as well. So we could start from the 30 minute and go down to the 1 minute. So for example, on the 30 minute on the open, we had a buy the dip signal. We had that blue triangle there. Let me hide this other indicator. We're not going to talk about that one too much on today's video. But we had that buy the dip signal there on the 30 minute. So let's say we got that signal right at the open on the 30 minute. We wanted to see what it looked like going down to the lower time frames. Let's see if it's confirming that buy the dip signal. So what was it telling us around the open on the other time frames? On the 15 minute, we didn't have one buy signal. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 buy signals around the open there. So we were respecting that trail bullishly on pretty much every single retest. We were also bouncing off of that blue pivot. So that's even more confirmation that that 30-minute trail is okay to push us into more of an uptrend. And then going down even further, let's go down to the 5 minute. What was the 5 minute telling us? Same thing on the 5 minute. It was a little bit bearish because you flipped the trail red and we were hitting that trail bearishly, but we did have a blue pivot getting swept 4 times. So we had 4 different wicks on that blue pivot acting as support. Once again, furthering the point that we were seeing on the 15 minute and the 30 minute, that there was support coming in around that like 78 area. And then finally, let's go down to the 1 minute. What was the 1 minute telling us? So realistically, the only signal we were getting on the 1 minute that would coincide with all those signals on the other time frames was that purple shading. We had purple shading coming in at around 9:42. So we started to gain momentum to the upside. And if we were watching the 1 minute for that confirmation, you started to flip the trail bullishly, and you had that Momo pinch. We talked about the pinch in that indicator video when you have the trend line and the histogram pinching together and moving in the same direction. You had that confirmation after the purple shading pinching together and pushing all the way back up to around 10 o'clock. So that's one way you can do it from the top down instead of the bottom up. But you kind of have that same waterfall method where you're just looking at it step by step, time frame by time frame, to seeing if the signals are going together or are they countering each other, right? We could also take a look at Friday, because Friday was a little bit of a different shape. So let's take a look at Friday. Let's go back to the open here. So there's the open right there. Let's go ahead and go back to that on the 5 minute here. That would be right around right there. We'll bring it up on the 30 minute as well. And then on the 15 minute as well. So right away, looking at the higher time frames on the Momo and even the OTS on Friday, we were pretty much bullish right out of the gates, right? You had pretty strong momentum to the upside. You were already looking for a top, right? The top shading was happening on the Momo on both the 30 and the 15, kind of implying that we're looking for higher value, right? So when we're looking at the lower time frames and trying to be a scalper on the 1 minute and the 5 minute, we probably want to be following that, looking for a top, looking for a higher value move. So 15 minute and 30 minute are kind of showing the gold shading. They're showing some potential traps playing out. The sellers are being trapped, right? The buyers are in control. So when we see the 5 minute, the 1 minute, we probably want to be looking for those signals that coincide with that, right? We want to be looking for those bullish signals. So right away out of the gate at 9:32 on the 1 minute, it gave us a blue pivot. So you tried to break that trail, but then a blue pivot came in, implying that there is a high likelihood that, hey, you might want to reverse here, possibly pulling back to the trail or even going higher than the trail, possibly breaking out into an uptrend again. So then if we go back to the 5 minute, what time was that? That was around 9:32. So that would have been the very first candle of the day. That would have been this candle right here. So confirmation on the 5 minute here is the fact that we are sweeping that orange pivot. So we had an orange pivot, which typically implies that you want to pull back to the downside, right? And that's kind of what you did. You had that pullback back towards the trail, but it instantly broke after that, implying that the buyers are using it as support. So on that same candle that you saw that blue pivot on the 1 minute, you had a sweep on the 5 minute, sweeping an orange pivot to the buy side. So you see how you can use these different time frames to confirm which direction that you're most likely going to go. Obviously, it's not always 100%, but when all the signals are lining up in one direction, then you probably want to trade in that direction and not against it, right? So let's take it even further. Let's say, okay, on the 5 minute here, I'm seeing multiple buy signals on the trail. We have 5 buy signals on the trail here. And I confirm this with the other time frames. So that would be anywhere from 10:30 to 11:05. So 10:30 to 11:05 on the 1 minute, yes, we do have confirmation of that buy the dip signal. Because once again, we have a combo signal. We talked about those combos on the indicator video, talking about when the OTS and the Momo are telling you the same thing, basically. So when we have the pivot happening on the OTS, which is the trading sweep, by the way, and then we have the purple shading on the Momo, they're both telling you that there is a high probability that it wants to pull back, possibly to the trail or maybe even further. So 5 minute is telling us buy the dip, 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 5 different times. Confirmation on the 1 minute with that pivot and the combo, the purple shading. And then we had a little bit of a pullback into that pivot, which did break a little bit, but then it instantly flipped back into buyer momentum. Let's take a look at the 15 minute. Did the 15 tell us anything? So what time was that? That was 10:30 to 11:05. So it looks like on the 15 minute, we pulled back to that orange pivot as support. So we had overlapping wicks on that 15, and you had the trail support right below you if you did not trust that pivot support. Let's take a look at the 30 minutes. So that would have been around, let's see here. That would have been right here on this move rate. It's kind of hard to see. Let me zoom in. So this one is actually giving you a little bit of a conflicting signal with an orange pivot, but it bounced off the ADMA to the tick and broke that orange pivot immediately. So that orange pivot did not give you that pullback. It turned into support immediately. And obviously the momentum on the Momo is pretty much topped out to the buy side. So you're very, very aggressive to the buy side. So the only conflicting signal that you really had there was that orange pivot, and that got taken out pretty much immediately. So you guys see how I'm confirming these signals by just looking at what they're telling us on multiple time frames. And we can do the same thing. We could go even further. We could go back to Thursday, right? We can do the same thing on Thursday. So let's bring up Thursday here. Let's see if there's any conflicting signals on this one. So right out of the gate on Thursday, you can see it's pretty much in a 100% buy formation, where the momentum is pretty much topped out. You're holding above the ADMA, you're holding above the trail. So realistically, you didn't really have any patterns that would have told you to be a seller immediately on the open of Thursday. But then we started to see this pattern right here on the 5 minute. We had an orange pivot and a gold shading. So we had a little bit of a combo for the downside. It was telling you that, hey, the likelihood that it wants to pull back to that trail or even more is a little bit high right now, so be careful. So let's see what the other time frames were telling us around that signal. So we had that signal come in around 9:55. So 9:55 on the 1 minute. There's not immediate confirmation on the 1 minute, but there is a bear div. So you see on the 1 minute, we are pushing up on price, but we are pushing down on momentum. So there is a 1 minute bear div to go with that combo signal, which is right here on the 5 minute. You had the gold shading and you had the orange pivot. So we had a bear div on the 1 minute to confirm that pullback. Let's take a look at the 15. What was the 15 telling us? So that was around 9:55. Let's see here. So we also had an orange pivot on the 15 minute. So you had a little bit of a top wick on the candle before that, and then you had an orange pivot come in on the 10 o'clock candle. So basically just confirming the 5 minute pivot. Let's take a look at the 30 minute. So once again, that would have been the first 30 minute candle of the day. So right away, that 30 minute candle on the open wasn't really telling us a whole lot. The next candle had the pivot. So not really any confirmation on the 30 minute. So your waterfall really only went up to the 15 minute in that case. The 30 minute was actually telling you that if you waited a few candles, it would have told you for sure that this was actually a pretty strong uptrend because you had a pinch. So the 30 minute was kind of telling you that, hey, there might be a pinch forming. So if you do take this as a short back down to the OTS trail, you might want to get out of that pretty quickly because we are actually uptrending here. So you guys see how I'm combining these signals together just to see if they're conflicting or if they're going together and they support your trade. you can continuously do this either, like I said, from the top down or from the bottom up. And if we were looking at that same pattern the opposite way, from the bottom up, it would tell us the same thing, right? Let's say if we saw that bear div coming in on the 1 minute and we were mainly focusing on the 1 minute. So we saw that bear div, we wanted to be a seller around like this candle right here. We would start waiting for the 5 minute and the 15 and the 30 minute to catch up with those signals. Are they now confirming that we have that bearish momentum coming in? And then you would see on the 5 minute, yes, it is confirming there's a pivot. And then yes, on the 15 minute, it is confirming there's a pivot. But when you get to the 30 minute, you don't really have that confirmation until your trade is kind of already over. You already pulled back to the trail. So your target was already achieved by the time the 30 minute started showing any signals. Do you guys have any questions on, maybe you're confused on how to read the Momo or how to read the OTS? Do you guys understand what we talked about in the video about what their signals are showing you? Now, obviously, they're pretty complex indicators. I have hour-long videos on them, so I can't go into a full explanation, but I can answer some small questions if you guys have any. Hey, Max, you said on the 30 minute, would you have paid attention to that pre-market pivot off of the low or ignored it because it's pre-market? Which day are you referring to? On Thursday? Let me see. On Thursday. Oh, you're talking about this one right here. So you're talking about the blue pivot that came in on Thursday, but it came in at 8:30. Yeah, so I actually believe I talked about this on the live stream on Thursday, and I was talking about how if you guys traded pre-market, it was actually a much easier trade because it was giving you that pinch and that pivot right away on that 8:30 to like 9 o'clock. But if you were trading it on my time zone on the New York Open, it was a little bit of a hard trade because that trade was kind of already playing out. We were bouncing off of that blue pivot and we were already seeing a big spike to the upside off of that blue pivot if you were trading the Open. So unfortunately, if you were trading the New York Open, you were kind of a little late on that one. So we would have had to wait for the pullback, which it did give us. The pullback into the ADMA or into the trail, or possibly into the pivot. But we didn't get a pullback into the pivot, unfortunately. But yes, I would always pay attention to pivots, even if they are pre-market, especially if they're starting like major trades. Like if they're starting like a point of origin or something like that. Like it starts a major market structure shift. Now, unfortunately, that has happened a lot recently, where pivots have started trades in the pre-market that we were not able to really capture fully on the cash hours. It happens a lot on the 1 minute and the 5 minute. I think we had one. We almost had one on Monday, or basically today. We almost had one today with that pivot, where the pivot was being retested a little bit before the opening bell. But it did give you the pullback after the opening bell, so it did give you a chance to get in on the New York Open as well. Yeah, especially if they're news scandals. Yeah, exactly. A lot of the times during like the London Open or like around that 8 o'clock, you'll have pivots formed on those news scandals. So Sam's question was basically asking, what are the indicators based off of? They are not pulling formulas from like any major indicator. The Momo especially is basically built from scratch. The formula on the Momo, I quite literally created the formula. It is a logic-based formula It does not use the like calculations of any major indicators. It is tied to certain indicators for scaling, like how we scale it from like 20 to -20, that sort of thing. But the formula that is pulling the actual momentum, like the 3-bar momentum on the price line or the 24-bar momentum on the trend line, that is built from scratch. The OTS pulls a lot of volume data, so it pulls a lot of data coming from like just the normal volume, and then I attached a formula that I created on top of that to find the pivots based on how much momentum and volume are shifting from one direction to the other direction. But like the exact formulas and like how they work, I don't reveal that. They're very proprietary. So another indicator that I didn't really talk about in the indicator video were the bots. Let me pull those up here. And the bots are a great example of what I talk about with the multi-time frame and the waterfall aspect of our indicators. So if we go back to, let's just go back to the open here. And we'll go back to the open of today. Now, today is a terrible day to show you the bots because the bots aren't really used on a choppy day like today. But we can show you how it goes from a choppy day into a trend day because the bots are obviously trend bots. So let's see here. So the open on the 30-minute, let me just mark it out so you can see it. The open on the 30-minute would be right around here. Okay, so if we look at this from top down, not doing a waterfall, but just doing it top down, we were already in a buy signal on the 30-minute because we were in an uptrend from Thursday. So Thursday's close, the entire day of Friday, and then the entire day of today was already in a buy signal on the 30-minute. So there wasn't really a signal to be had on the 30-minute today. So if we go down to the 15-minute, let's see here. The open is, let me mark it out. The open is right here. And let me just mark these out on the 5-minute as well so we can compare it all. So there's the 3-minute open, and then here is the 1-minute open. So right now I'm showing the 1-minute, the 3-minute, the 5-minute, and the 30-minute. And like I said, these are not exact time frames. You can play with what time frames you want to show. But okay, so the 30-minute was already in a buy signal. So we go down to the 5-minute. It was also in a buy signal, but if you guys remember, we talked about this on the live stream in the morning. Our trade plan was a P-shape and balance from Friday, but our current day was a micro pullback. For micro pullbacks, they are very range bound. They're extremely like neutral. They like to be selling around the value high and buying around the value low. Now, obviously, this is an indicator video. That will make more sense in our volume profile video. But in these neutral D shapes, we are not really paying attention to these bots because these bots are trend based. We want to pay attention to the bots on trend days or on imbalance days where they are showing a one-directional imbalance either to the buy side or the sell side. Now, right now, I'm actually showing you two different bots. I'm not showing you just one bot. The bot that is controlling the clouds is our range bot. The bot that is controlling the buy and sell is the trend bot. We created both these bots to go together because on a range market, then obviously you want to pay attention to the clouds. On a trend market, you want to pay attention to the buy and sell and the take profits, right? Okay, so looking at the 30-minute, we knew there was already a buy signal, so we had a very slight bullish bias, but we saw that the clouds were very thick, which is usually indicative of a range market. When the clouds are very thick, the price will kind of bounce back and forth, kind of like Bollinger Bands. It's using a little bit of a Bollinger Band formula in its calculation. So when you have those thick clouds, you kind of have price kind of bouncing back and forth off of those clouds. Then on the 5 minute, we can confirm that once again, very thick clouds. And the price is just bouncing back and forth off of those clouds. Like I said, if I turn off the trend bot, you can see the price is just bouncing back and forth off of these clouds. You had a lot of buyers there, a lot of sellers up here on the first part of the day. So until we start seeing those clouds start to disappear and the price beginning to stay one directional, which started happening later in the afternoon, you're kind of ignoring those buy signals. But then starting around, let me pull up the actual 30-minute here. Starting around, let's see here. It was around 1 o'clock, I believe it was, 1 to 1:30. 1 o'clock to 1:30, we started getting pretty one-directional, where it was actually protecting every 30-minute low, and we started to break every 30-minute high. So going back to what we talked about on like the market structure video, it was a bullish responsive day where it wasn't extremely aggressive. The aggressive buyers were not holding above the 30-minute highs every single time and showing that momentum to the buy side. It was more of like a vertical distribution and a bullish responsive day. But around that time, we can start seeing on the bots, it was maintaining its buy signal for longer. It wasn't just going back and forth, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, right? The trends were being more respected in the afternoon. As we can see here, it buys for a lot longer. So like I said, during a trending market, a one-directional market, or a aggressive, bullish aggressive, or bearish aggressive market, one time framing market, if you like to use market profile, we talk about that in the next video as well. If you're in an aggressive market, a trending market, you want to pay more attention to the buy and sell bot. If you're in more of a ranging market, you want to pay more attention to the ranging bot. If you're in more of a D-shaped market, or maybe a capital B market where you have like a double distribution, you want to pay more attention to those clouds, right? People misunderstand the bots a lot, which is why I don't talk about them too much. People just try to use them blindly without using their brain. They're very discretionary. Do you guys have any questions? I think we covered just about everything in the indicator video, so I didn't have too many questions in the comments, which is a good thing. I'm glad you guys didn't, you weren't too confused, right? In this next video, the volume profile one coming up, it's nearly 2 hours long, so I'm expecting you guys to not have too many questions about that one because I go into a lot of detail in our next video as well. But yeah, if you guys don't have too many questions left, we will be calling it a video here soon. Do you guys have any questions about the combo signals, like the pivots and the shading combined? The buy the dip, sell the rally signals on the OTS? How to see the trap signals on the OTS and the Momo? Did all that stuff make sense? So let me actually talk about what we're looking at right this second going into tomorrow. So how would I read what is going on right now with these indicators, and what are we going to look for going into tomorrow based on what we're seeing currently on the Momo and OTS? So right now, if we just take kind of a snapshot of all these time frames, it's pretty obvious that we are in a very aggressive one-directional market, right? Well, I wouldn't say very aggressive, but we are very one-directional, where the sellers are not, they're not really in control whatsoever. They're barely even getting pullbacks. We can look at that on a top-down analysis from the 30-minute, because look at how flat that trend line is around that 15. Typically, when the trend line is extremely flat at 15 or negative 15, that implies that the trend is very stable, and whoever is in that trend, like for example, right now, the buyers, this is actually on the 5-minute, but if I go to the 30-minute, it will do the same thing. 30 minutes very flat around 15 here. If the trend line is very flat at 15 or negative 15, that trend is very stable, and whoever's controlling that trend is basically in full control. They're not allowing too many pullbacks, and if they are allowing pullbacks, they're just going right back to that prevailing trend. So we're seeing that on pretty much every time frame here. We're seeing on the 1-minute, the 5-minute, the 15, the 30. We are flattened out at around positive 15. And we're seeing these little micro pullbacks here and there, these small pullbacks, I should say, on like the 1-minute, like the momentum's coming back to zero, sometimes even below zero, but then it's snapping right back to that positive 10 or positive 20 area, implying that it's most likely just profit taking. It's not actually a trend reversal. If it was a trend reversal, what would it look like? So this is where we would take the waterfall technique into account, and we would say, okay, if the 1-minute finally starts to go negative on both the histogram and the trend line, so the short-term momentum and the longer-term momentum, obviously we're talking about long-term on a 1-minute, still a scalping sense. We're not talking about long-term on like the daily. But on the short-term and the long-term momentum on the scalping sense, if they both start to go below that 10 line or below the 0 line, then obviously that would imply that the sellers are actually getting decently strong. Now, is that just a short-term pullback on the 1-minute and it doesn't waterfall into the 5-minute or the 15 or the 30? We would have to take a look at those time frames, right? So let's say on the 1-minute, we start to go negative here. Starts to shoot down on the trend line and the histogram. We would then start to watch the 5-minute to see how much of an impact that 1-minute pullback is having on the 5-minute. Is our 5-minute momentum following suit? Is our short-term 5-minute momentum nuking and our trend line nuking? Is it coming back to that 5-minute trail? Like obviously at that point, we've probably lost the 1-minute trail. So now let's take a look at the 5-minute trail. Is it losing that trail and the momentum's going negative? Okay, let's go even further. What's happening on the 15? Is the 15 pulling back to that trail? Is our momentum on the 15 starting to go negative? And then so on and so forth. What about the 30-minute? And we just take this step by step, however high we want to go. We could go all the way to the daily if we want to. So think about the lower time frames as like a warning sign for what the higher time frames are possibly going to do if that does turn into a larger move, right? It could just be a very small 1-minute pullback that turns into a trap, and the 5, the 15, the 30, they're all staying very bullish. You're not even able to lose the 5-minute trail, and then you bounce back into the positive section on the 1-minute, so back above like 10 or 15, it could just be a little trap, right? Could be a 1-minute trap. The 5-minute stable, 15 stable, 30-minute stable. The 1-minute traders are just getting trapped. And that's one thing we can look for a possible signal, right? Are they being trapped on the trail? Did we flip the trail red on the 1-minute, but we could not flip it on the 5-minute? And now the 5-minute's holding as maybe a buy the dip, and then we start to see the 1-minute flip back to being green. We just want to compare these time frames to each other, and once again, seeing if the signals have that confluence or are they countering each other, right? How far is that waterfall going? It started on the 1 minute, then it goes to the 3 and 5, then the 15, but maybe it stops at the 30. Maybe that 30-minute trail is too much support, and then you start going right back to what you were doing. At that point, it's like a reverse waterfall, right? It's a top-down waterfall. Oh, so you mean like the actual alerts? Yeah, that's one thing that I should have actually covered in the video that I did not cover. So thank you for bringing that up. If you guys want to set alerts on these indicators, it has all these alerts built in. So you have the symbol, obviously that's whatever you're looking at. So in this case, we're looking at ES. The condition, you want to select whatever indicator you're looking for, either the OTS or the Momo. I'll do the OTS first. So on the OTS, new bullish trend means it's going from a red trail to a green trail. The new bearish trend is vice versa. Buy the dip is the triangle. Sorry, let me go back, actually. I just made a mistake already. I changed that signal years ago. Let me start over here. That was one of the alerts I actually had to fix many years ago. All right, let's start over. So starting with the OTS, the alerts are as follows. The new bullish trend is actually when you're going from the red on the OTS or the gray into a green candle color. So new bullish trend is when you're going green on the candles. New bearish is when you're going red on the candles. That can be either from the gray or from the green. Sometimes you don't have those gray candles. Sometimes it flips from one color to the other. Okay. So new bullish going green, new bearish going red. Buy the dip is the triangle. So the blue triangle is when you're sweeping the trail bullishly. Sell the rally is the orange triangle when you're hitting the trail and sweeping it bearishly. New pivot high is exactly what it sounds like. It's the orange pivot. New pivot low is the blue pivot. Bearish trail flip is when you're going from a green trail to a red trail. And then bullish trail flip is when you're going from a red trail to a green trail. So one thing you can do on TradingView is when you are setting this to trigger, if you want it to trigger right when it happens, but it's not confirmed by the candle closing, you can choose only once, or you can choose like once per bar. If you want it to happen when the candle closes, so it kind of locks that signal in, you want to choose per bar close, because that will only trigger when the candle has actually closed. Because sometimes if you have like a really strong candle, it can start flipping the trail, but if it gets reversed, the trail won't flip, right? So if you want that actual confirmation, you need to wait for the candle to close. Okay, for the Momo alerts, this is where you can choose a condition. So like we can add a condition of like price crossing or whatever, right? So we could say, let me see here. They actually changed this a little bit. Here we go. So we could choose price as the condition. We could choose crossing up, crossing down, right? But on the Momo, we want to choose... Oh, sorry. They changed this a lot, actually. Wow. Sorry, I haven't used these alerts in a while. Give me 1 second. Let me look at this. This used to be a lot easier. What have they done here? You used to be able to select a condition, then what it's doing, then the other condition. I don't know why they have the interval thing here. That's just confusing. What did they do here? Let's see. Okay, that's what they did. All right, sorry. They made this way more complicated. They made this way more complicated than it was before. Okay, so if you want to set on the Momo for when the price line or the trend line, remember the price line is the histogram. It used to be a line, which is why we call it the price line. So obviously it's not actually a line anymore, it's a histogram, but the price line is the short-term momentum. So when we want to select the short-term momentum going above or going below a level, you have to click it here, set it up under crossing. So you have to select crossing. Then you can select either the price line or the trend line. Then you can select the value. And that will make an alert for when it's crossing above 10 or below -10, etc., etc. Another thing you can do is obviously I have this built in. So like price and trend going under 10, price and trend going over 10, price under 10. Like I have that for the most part built in. You don't have to use the crossing mechanic on TradingView. And the double buy, what I mean by double buy is the purple shading. And the double sell is the gold shading. That's the old way we used to talk about those. That's why they're called double buy, double sell. But yeah, so you can either choose crossing and put it in manually, or you can choose the built-in alerts on the Momo. Both of them will work. Sorry, that took me a minute because that's not how it used to be. They made that like 2 or 3 steps longer than it used to be. All right, do we have any more questions? Let me see here. Yeah, Max, the bots already kind of do that. The bots already show you breakout signals, right? They just don't have like the exact levels by themselves. You can turn the levels on. So like if you want to turn on the support and resistance levels, they're not coded as like a breakout indicator. So it's not exactly telling you, hey, buy because we're breaking a high or we're breaking a pivot or something like that. They are more so a trend indicator. So they do a lot more formulas, or they do a lot more calculations on formulas that are based on trending, not on breakouts. So it's not going to go hand in hand on when a breakout is happening. But yes, they have the levels built into them. They're not exactly the same as pivots. They are more standard support and resistance levels. And you can see when the buy signal is breaking into them or the sell signal is breaking into them. But it's not giving you that buy signal because it's breaking the level. It's just kind of a coincidence, right? So the formula doesn't really care about the breakouts. It's more so a trend. So let me talk about really quickly before we go. I'm going to talk about the EMAs because we talked about those in the indicator video as well. So let me pull that up here. Okay, so do you guys have any questions on the EMAs and how we use them to find like aggressive buyers or responsive traders? You guys understand what I was talking about in the video when I was going over the fact that I don't like use them for blind signals. I more so use them as like an actual indicator on momentum, right? Who's in control? Do you guys understand how to like read a chart with these EMAs and very quickly determine, okay, that's a bullish aggressive day, that's a bullish responsive day, that's a bearish aggressive day, that sort of thing, right? Yeah, David, I don't use them for blind signals. Like, I'm never just going to press the buy button because there's a blue pivot. I'm not going to press the buy button because there's like a pivot combo. But the more the indicators give me those signals and they give me that confluence, it wants to push me into a buy, right? Like my brain is like, okay, I really need to look for a buy here because there's so many signals going off on my indicators. So I'm looking very closely for one of my playbook patterns or one of my my trades in that general area. So I kind of am taking trades because of the signals, but I need that confirmation. I need that confirmation from like a sweep or a volume profile signal. Maybe it's a value low or something like that. Maybe it's an order flow absorption or something like that, right? I need like something to confirm why I should hit that button. Excuse me. There needs to be some kind of confirmation, right? I'm not going to blindly follow my indicators, even though they are very powerful, right? At the end of the day, no matter how strong an indicator is, it's always going to be like slightly laggy. So you want that final confirmation to come from price. Yeah, so downward accumulation would be pretty much the exact thing that we did today, just flipping the chart upside down. So we would be monitoring the 24 EMA, because obviously looking at this chart, we are pulling back to the 24 EMA repeatedly. So we can tell that it's not an aggressive day, it's a responsive day. The only exception is this little zone right here, because you're staying below the ADMA into that pullback there. And that's basically into the close. So we had a little bit of a closing spike there. But other than that, we were seeing constant pullbacks either above the 24 EMA or back into the 24 EMA. So it was very responsive. So right away, we're like, okay, I can see that it's pulling back into the 24 EMA repeatedly. So I really do not want to be an aggressive trader. I do not want to be a breakout seller to the downside, because the probability that that breakout is going to pull back to the ADMA or the 24 EMA is very, very high. So therefore, if I'm a seller on that low, if I'm selling the breakdown, right, I'm probably going to get stopped out. I'm probably going to lose money, even though it is very obviously trending to the downside. Because what do I do when I take a breakout sell? I put my stop loss a little bit above that level, right? And a little bit above that level would be basically where the 24 EMA is. So as it pulls back into that 24 EMA, I'm going to get stopped out as a breakout trader. So when you see it constantly pulling back to the 24 EMA, it's telling you that it's responsive, and you can follow the trend. You want to follow the trend most of the time, right? but you need to be doing it on pullbacks as a responsive trader, not as an aggressive trader. And then when you shift more into an aggressive market where it's no longer giving you those pullbacks into the 24 EMA, kind of the last like 30 minutes of the day, then it's telling you, hey, if you're looking for a trade around the 24 EMA, you're probably not going to get it. So like right here, it's just constantly respecting the ADMA. Right here, it pulled back into the ADMA and then immediately sold. It's basically telling you, hey, we're probably not going to get that, right? And obviously, we didn't sell off at the end of the day. I'm just using this as an example because I flipped my chart. So the same would be true for a vertical distribution, right? A vertical distribution is holding on to that 24 EMA, a lot of pullbacks into the 24 EMA, and we can use that in our trading to follow the trend, but we're probably not going to be a breakout buyer, right? Or we shouldn't be a breakout buyer. The only time being a breakout buyer would have helped you today was, like I said, like in that last 30 minutes. If you were a breakout buyer for the first few hours of the afternoon, you were not getting good buys. The first few afternoon hours were very, very sloppy for the breakout buyers. They were basically getting trapped every single time. Breakout buy here, trapped. Breakout buy here, trapped. And then same thing again and again, right? But all right, guys, let's do a giveaway really quick for you guys that showed up to the live stream. I appreciate you guys being here. My voice is absolutely shot after making that volume profile video yesterday. Took me over 2 hours of nonstop talking. So yeah, we're going to call it a video here. Let me go ahead and do a giveaway for some Apex accounts. And then we will do a little outro and then we'll call it a video. I'm going to cut up this video and cut up like the giveaway and all that stuff. And you guys will have the final version in the playlist probably in the next couple of days. All right, how many people do we have in here? We only have like 40 people in here, so we'll do 1 through 50. So give me a second, I'll pull up the random number generator, and we'll do 1 through 50. And these are for Apex accounts, guys. All right, go ahead. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes. You'll have like 5 minutes. I think 3 minutes is enough. You guys will have 3 minutes. Pick a number 1 through 50. 1 through 50. Have your emails ready, because if you win, I'm going to need you to email me. And then I'm going to email you back a random number. I need you to type that random number into chat so I know that it's you. And then after that, I'm going to send you a promo code that will be good for any Apex account, any size, for 30 days. It will give you a free 30 days. After that 30 days, it will charge you full price. So you need to pass that account within the first 30 days or go back to the brew code. Which, by the way, the brew code right now is 80% discount. If you guys sign up for any accounts, be sure to send those to me for the giveaway. It's giveaway period dejabrewtrading@gmail.com for the series giveaway. And I'll tell you right now, guys, that not one person has like a massive amount of tickets, so you guys have a good chance. If you guys just comment on the videos and send me a couple of Apex receipts using the code BREW, if you're a Discord member, you guys get 10 tickets by default. By default, you still have to email me. But by just being a Discord member, you get 10 tickets. But yeah, not one person has like a massive amount of tickets that's like guaranteed to win. So be sure to get entered in that giveaway. We're going to be giving away a massive giveaway for a laptop at the end of the series. It's going to be about a $3,500 laptop. So you guys definitely want to get involved. But yeah, please follow the instructions on the giveaway that I show on every single video. All the videos that we've done so far, I show the giveaway details at the start of the video and the end of the video. So please don't ask me about the giveaway and like how we're doing it. I show it multiple times in those videos. So if you guys ask me questions about it, it just proves to me that you're not watching the videos, right? And I'm thinking about doing a little something on our last video. I might plant a little keyword or something, and I'll say, hey, you got to email me this keyword to prove that you're watching these videos. Because I don't want somebody to win the laptop that's just cheesing the giveaway and they're not actually watching these videos. So I might do a little something like that on the last video. And you guys are getting the inside scoop on that right now. Because I already know there's going to be some people that are going to not watch the videos and they're going to go back and comment on all the videos in the last second. And I don't want somebody that didn't put any time in to beat you guys that are spending hours watching this content and sending me all your giveaway stuff. So I'm going to try to keep it fair for everybody. But I'm probably going to plant a little keyword on the last video. So be ready for that. All right, guys, I'll give you 30 more seconds. Pick a number 1 through 50. Do not pick a second number. I'm just going to roll it twice. If you guys have the same number as somebody else, you guys will both win, and I'll just roll it again until one of you wins. I'll give you guys another 30 seconds. All right, Olive, his number 45 is going to be the last number I read. So here we go. Good luck, guys. 37. Do we have a 37? Hey, we do. That was easy. Do we have multiple 37s? Let me see. No, we do not. Okay, so Gunk, you're the first winner. Let me roll it again for a second winner. 19. Do we have a 19? We've got an 18. We've got a 17. I don't think we have a 19. I'm going to roll it again. Do we have a 12? We don't have a 12. I'm going to roll it again. 28. I jinxed it. We got the first one in one try. Now it's going to take me like 20 tries. No 28. 30. Do we have a 30? I feel like we're playing bingo now. Gunk, go ahead and email me on that giveaway email. So that same email you're sending me your tickets, go ahead and send me an email on that one. Just let me know, hey, it's Gunk, I won the giveaway. I'm going to send you a random number. And then just put that random number in chat. Do we have a 30? I don't think so. Let me re-roll it. Okay, we do have a 48. Do we have multiple 48s? I don't think so. Queso, are you still here? Let me know if you're still here, Queso. Okay, you are. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to type in my email here if you guys don't have it. It's giveaway period dejabrew@gmail.com. Just send me an email. Let me know, hey, I won the Apex giveaway. I'm going to send you a random number and then just type that random number in the YouTube chat so I know that that's you. No, not usually, Sean. My roulette luck is pretty bad. Pretty good at craps, but roulette not so much. Yeah, if you guys are heading out, I appreciate you guys watching. I'll do a little outro here in a little bit, and then we'll call it a video. Be on the lookout for our next video, the volume profile one, possibly coming out this week, but it's a very long video. It's like twice as long as the longest one in the series so far. It's 2 hours long, so it's going to take some time to edit. So if my editor needs another week, we'll have to push it back to next week. If you guys are brand new to my content, I do stream Monday through Friday, 9:30 in the morning at the New York Open. We typically stream for about 2 hours or so. So be sure to check out our live streams. But yeah, this volume profile video you guys do not want to miss. I think it is the best volume profile video I have made over the years. It's basically a master class of all the videos that I've put on my channel about volume profile in the last like 7 years. That's why it took me so long. This one is not a crash course, like, well, it kind of still is a little bit of a crash course, but I go much more in detail on this video than I do on the other videos. Because this is my bread and butter, right? This is the stuff that we talk about on every single live stream. So I need you guys to understand these concepts. So yeah, be prepared for that one. So normally I release these videos as like a premiere where you watch it live. I'm not going to do that with this video because I know you guys like to speed up my videos. When I'm teaching, I speak a little slowly. So actually when I watch back my videos, I typically watch my videos at like 1.5 to 2x speed. I can't do that if I release it as a premiere, so I'm just going to release the video normally. So if you guys like to speed up my videos, you'll be able to do that right when it releases. But yeah, possibly will be coming out this week. Worst case scenario, next week. Have you guys sent me emails? Let me double check. Okay, I got both of you guys. Let me send you a random number to confirm it's you. Just put it in the YouTube chat. No, I don't want to do multiple parts because it's all cohesive. It all goes together. And I've already said it's a 5-part series, so breaking it up into more parts would defeat that purpose. Awesome. Okay, you guys both answered correctly. Let me go ahead and send actually I'll do it after the stream. Let me I'm going to close the stream up and then you guys will see the promo codes on your email. Let me reiterate that for you guys who won. I'm going to send you a promo code. You use it the same way you use the brew code. it's going to give you a 1 month account. So like you sign up for any size account you want, it will give it to you for 1 month for free. Make sure if you do not pass that account in that month, you want to go back to the brew code to get that discount because it's going to charge you full price. Okay. But all right, let me go ahead and make an outro for this video and then we'll call it a day here. All right, guys, thank you for watching the Q&A for the Becoming an Apex Trader DBT Method Indicators video. Okay, let me do that again because Windows Update wants to have a pop-up right when I do that. Really wants me to update. Thank you guys for watching the Q&A for the Becoming an Apex Trader DBT Method Indicators video. If you guys have any further questions, feel free to put them in the comments down below. In our next video, we will be talking about volume profile, and it's going to be a long one as well. It's about a 2-hour long video, so be sure to check it out. But all right, guys, that's it for now. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, everybody.